Welcome everyone to What's Trending from South by Southwest. Yes. I'm Shira Lazar. We're coming to you live from the Samsung Blogger Lounge, and we've been doing 3 days live from South by Southwest. But I'm so excited to introduce our next guest. He's a local from Austin, Texas, but he's also an incredible director. So great to introduce Robert Rodriguez. It's nice to be home here with you.
I know, it's great that everybody's here. I don't have to even go anywhere. Everything comes here. It's exciting.
So South by Southwest, I'm sure, has changed so much, and you've seen it over the years.
It's grown a lot.
So tell me about the excitement and energy here and why it's important, for you to be even based here as a director.
Well, I came to college here. I'm from San Antonio, and I stayed. And when South by Southwest started, originally it was just the music portion. It was always a big music town.
Yeah.
But when they added the film portion and then the media, and then the media started really taking off, that's what's when it really got exciting, for me. Because even though I'm involved with music somewhat, mostly it's movies, and mostly it's, that sort of state-of-the-art, getting stories out there with the different kind of media that keeps coming up. So being on the very cutting edge of that, because that's where Twitter was announced and everything here at South by Southwest, that's what's really exciting, is seeing what's new, having this influx of people that just come in with all this great stuff.
And your work has changed so much also in terms of, obviously you've always been a filmmaker that does it all, right? You're not just a director, you do it all. What do you call it again? There's something you call it like where you're just hands-on.
Desperation? When you don't have anything, you just make do with what you have.
Well, you have a lot now, but you still do that.
Yeah, we still do that because it's just really exciting. In fact, when I talk to really big directors and ask what their favorite movie is, it was always the one that they had no time, no money on. They get really excited telling you the story about, and now we did this on the special effects because we'd fired the effects supervisor. I wanted all the movies to be like that. Everything, we don't have enough time, not enough money, and you have to be really creative. And that's what's really exciting. So it's kind of, we use a lot of high tech in our filmmaking. So I call it high tech guerrilla filmmaking. So that we're using the most cutting edge technology, but really scrappy and keeping it, really just home based.
What's so cool is that I think we're seeing a lot of the digital filmmakers saying that they're using that strategy, but you're doing it in the traditional realm as well.
Right. Doing it in the traditional realm because it's just, how you just get new ideas, and I've always tried to embrace technology early on and apply it to the movie world.
And let's talk about Troublemaker Studios and how that's evolved.
Well, when the airport moved, I took over some of the hangars that were just going to sit there. They're actually just going to mow them down, so I leased them from the state.
Yeah.
That's where the governor kept his plane. I turned it into Troublemaker Studios 12 years ago. So I've been making that sort of a state-of-the-art studio, but in a scrappy way. If you come see it, it's really kind of taped together. But we shot all Sin City there, all the Spy Kid movies, all the Machetes and everything. We shot out of that studio and utilized local crew and really cultivated an amazing crew because they got early on training in shooting digital before anyone, shooting 3D before anyone.
Wow.
I mean, sometimes 8 to 10 years before anybody. So this small crew base here that really where there was not that much before became one of the most seasoned crews in the country.
Why was it important for you to go digital before a lot of people?
I was pretty friendly with George Lucas because I used to mix my sound at his Skywalker Ranch, and he said, it's so great that you're outside of Hollywood because, I'm outside of Hollywood, and when you're outside of Hollywood, you're already out of the box, and you're going to just automatically think out of the box because you're going to realize things don't make sense. And early on when I was shooting, I think one of the Spy Kids movies, and we're doing effects, and I'm shooting on a green screen, and they're having to remove grain, do a composite, put grain back on, and I'm like, why are we even shooting film? It makes no sense. But it was so traditional that you would never question it in Hollywood. But being outside of Hollywood, you would go, we got to get out of this fast. So as soon as there was a digital camera, I was shooting everything digital from the year 2000 till now. And now it always takes people.
That was like back in the day. You could say 2000, that's the beginning.
Well, I started editing. I remember when I did Desperado, I was the first movie on the lot to be editing digitally. Everything else was still cut on film back then. I mean, that seems like the dark ages. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
And but I knew that George Lucas had come up with Edit Droid, and it took 10 years for people to catch up to that. So I thought as soon as he started shooting digital, I started shooting digital.
Do you have people going to you for advice, like who are now just starting to use these tools?
Over the years, people had called when they'd heard that I was doing that stuff. They'd come visit the studio. They would see the setup and be really inspired by how much you could take on yourself. And I would show them not just the studio, but just my home studio, which is in my house.
Yeah.
Literally, my bed is here, and there's my edit machine. And my edit machine is this huge desk with 5 monitors, and I do all the score there, do all the I can watch 3D shots that my effects guys are working on. I can draw on the shots. And I've been doing that since first Spy Kids. So that technology has existed a long time, but nobody in the movie business was using it for that application. Being able to communicate with artists all around the world and cutting out a lot of the middlemen. And you just working right out of your house. I roll out of bed and I kind of make this stuff. And my edit system is in there as well. And I've just always done it that way since Desperado.
It's super cool. Now you're also transitioning into the TV world. Big announcement, Comcast, your new network, El Rey.
Network. The El Rey Network.
That's really exciting.
It's pretty exciting.
It's like pretty huge.
It's pretty. What's exciting about it is that when there's a successful television show, everyone just kind of imitates that show, and even the process. When you think, how are you going to launch a network? Well, if you launch a network like everyone else has a network, then that doesn't make any sense. But if you do something really, again, you're outside of the box already.
Mm-hmm.
If you're thinking outside of the box and getting content that no one else is doing, and you actually can, because it's for second, third generation Hispanic, English dominant, which is the biggest minority, largest and fastest growing minority group in the country. But the trick is, you're doing it in English. So it's kind of like Desperado TV, basically. You don't watch Desperado or Machete or even the Spy Kid movies because they're Latin. You watch them just because they're cool movies and you want to check them out. Mm-hmm. Well, that's what the whole network would be. And it would be made up of shows from people from all over the country who don't usually get into Hollywood to make anything. And for one, Hollywood wants to own everything. So I don't want to own anything. I'm not a greedy bastard. I just want to license it for my TV show. So you can actually not just make content, but I would empower them and teach them how to create the content they would own, that they could exploit anywhere in any medium, any future medium.
You're making mini Robert Rodriguez's.
A whole army of them. A whole army of them.
So
because 20 years ago, I did mariachi, and I wrote this book called Rebel Without a Crew, because I wanted to know, if I was a filmmaker at that time, I would have wanted to know that was possible. So I wanted to really get the word out to everybody else. And that changed independent filmmaking forever.
Yeah.
Before that point, nobody had made a movie under $300,000 that got released. So when you did that, it's something called breaking the M field. It's almost like you can only run the 100-yard dash in 7 seconds. That's all that's possible until someone does it for 6.5. Then suddenly everybody can do it.
Changes the game.
It changes the game. It's just a mindset. So once people knew that was possible, everybody was doing it. So if you do that with a network, for instance, and come up with a whole different way of doing it, it's really exciting. It makes people want to be a part of that because it's something new. They know it's not corporate. They know it's independent. And we just got the keys to this place, mainly because Comcast and Universal were merging, and the FCC would only let them merge and be that big if they designated 5 networks to minority owners. So I got it because of that.
Thank God for being a minority.
And also because they wanted to merge so badly that they gave the networks away. They gave it to the wrong people. We're going to spread it out, let everybody come in and do something really new. It's really really exciting.
What are you looking for if someone's pitching you a show?
It's got to be cool first, because that's the main thing. It's just got to be cool and different and exciting. And then what is second, third generation Latin? What does that mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's such an amazing thing that's like the biggest minority group. And the business has always just thought, oh, well, there's a Latin group. Spanish TV takes care of them. That's Univision. And that's like the majority of the audience that doesn't watch that. And that's also an audience that is 10 years younger than the average U.S. citizen is 35. The average Hispanic's 25. They're over-indexed hugely in social media. Huge. And they spend $1 trillion a year. They're not watching that stuff.
Yeah.
So no one is doing that network. You're thinking there's 500 networks, not one of them is occupying that space.
Wow.
Much less independently.
So with that said, social media. How will social media come into play within a TV network like yours?
Well, the thing about a TV network is really seems very traditional, but it's what it really is. It starts a lifestyle brand, because you're talking about a youth that's very disenfranchised. Not only is it a place that reflects the identity of a culture, it shapes it, because that culture has no identity. You ask someone who's Latin, "Are you Latin?" They'll say, "Well, I don't speak Spanish that well. I don't really write it. Yeah. Not really Latin that way. Not really American either, because it's kind of floating somewhere in between. Not on TV, so it must not exist." You have something like that they can say, "That's me. That's who I am in this country." You can show it to your non-Latin friends, and they go, "That's just cool." And by definition and by association, you're cool. So you just change a whole people. It goes from being a demographic, because if you look at the numbers are pretty staggering. If you look at 1 in 6 Americans are Hispanic, and by 2050, 1 in 3. That's a huge number that even we're astonished by. Where are all these people? Well, if they have their head down because they think they're a pocho, you ask somebody if they speak English and not Spanish, they think they're a pocho. But if you said, no, I'm El Rey, that's who I am. That's what it's about.
What is El Rey?
El Rey is the network. El Rey is the feeling.
I know, but what is it?
It's something
What's
that
it
you can
mean?
go, that is what... El Rey literally means the king. There's a song called El Rey where he says, I don't have a throne or a queen, and no one understands me, but I'm still the king. It's a very famous song. When guys get drunk, they sing that to themselves. And it's kind of a male-directed... It's sort of it's very a male-driven network. But the females will be able to watch as well because it's got a lot of strong female characters.
Are you looking at other big network execs and seeing what they've done right or wrong, or getting advice?
It's just like when I did the movies. Don't look at all of what people are doing. You think of it completely fresh. Because if you imitate, you're dead. You're dead right off the bat. If we go and do like the Latin network version of CSI, we're dead. So we can't do that. You've got to be completely different, cutting edge, to where it's like, I won my MTV. You know, back in that day when that was so new, everybody wanted a part of that. When we start releasing clips of what we're going to have on the network and what people are going to provide, people are going to say, I want to see that. And so many people will be able to identify with it. They'll follow that, like Apple, like Nike, like that's a feeling that they'll get. And they'll follow that on the phone. They'll follow that on a computer. They'll follow that not just on the television. So it really, what you're asking, why network, why not? The thing is to create a foothold. To create a foothold of an idea that doesn't exist right now. So that's what's really, I just find mind-blowing and exciting when I've told other people in the business that are prominent Latins who have gotten really far on their own against the odds in the business. Yeah. They can't believe it anywhere. It's like breaking that M field. It's like turning on a switch and they realize, wow, now I know what I'm supposed to be doing as far as stepping into a position of leadership to really help form this the right way and to really cultivate ideas and really inspire everybody, not just Latinos. Like, you weren't inspired by the mariachi because it was Latin, hey, let's go make Latin movies. No, it opened up a door to do all kinds of things. So many people tell me they've read my book, and very few of them actually are filmmakers. Most of them were inspired to go start a business or go create something else, and they were inspired by the idea of that. And I think that's what we want to do 20 years later with something like the network. Sounds like the networks just seem so small compared to what the idea is. The idea is much bigger.
You have to think big with the idea. Is Austin going to be a backdrop for this?
I know I will create some of the shows that I will be working on personally that we'll be doing here in Austin, but I don't want people to have to move here wherever they are. I chose Austin because this is where I lived and where I felt most comfortable creating the best work. If somebody wants to create wherever they are, they should be able to. This day and age, everyone's got their own studio on their laptop. Yeah. They don't have to be here.
Let's talk about some movie stuff quickly before we head to our audience for questions. Get those questions ready. Hashtag Samsung SXSW. I want to know, and a lot of your fans want to know about, Machete 2. You have a bunch of 2s coming out.
Yes,
right?
We start Machete next month.
Cool.
It's called Machete Kills.
With that voice.
And then,
do you do the voiceover work for your movies too?
Yeah, and then there'll be Machete Kills Again in Space. That'll be the third one. That's the third one.
That's awesome.
And then we're doing it in Sin City too, right, it might overlap that, but it's going to be right on the head of that. I mean, at the end of that. So we'll probably be editing Machete while we shoot Sin City because it'll be summer, it'll be hot, it'll be nice and cool inside on the green screen.
And how are the stories going to be different in the second movies?
Oh,
sequels, as we like to call them.
Well, the Sin City is going to be based on Dame to Kill 4.
Yeah.
And then there's 2 new stories that Frank wrote so that you won't find those in a book. Those will be surprises. And then Machete Kills is just really good. I just can't give away anything right now, but it turns very James Bond, Mission Impossible type. He works for the government, and the president gives him a job, and he has to go do it. He gets citizenship, and they say, for your new country, you have to do this.
Very cool. How do you balance all those movies at once, doing it all? And, obviously we know how much you're part of them and very hands-on with them.
You kind of develop them over a period of time. Like Sin City, we've been working on for a number of years. Yeah. So it just so happened that of course, everything bottlenecks. But you work on multiple projects at once because you never know which one's going to go. You never want to wait, So you develop them all simultaneously, and maybe one will go. This time it just happened everything got announced like at the same time. So it's just bottlenecked. But we'll just keep working.
Cool. All right, so we have some questions from the audience. Once again, go to samsung.com/howolympicareyu to check out the Samsung Olympic Genome Project. Who are you, and what do you have to ask, Robert?
Hi, I'm Javiva Galitz. I'm from Denver, Colorado. And I'm asking a question actually on behalf of my boyfriend, who's a young filmmaker.
Okay.
His name is Taylor Hibbs. And he was wondering, how do you recommend young filmmakers get their material out to potential investors and to fans outside of big festivals like this where it's sort of easy to get lost in the crowd?
That is a good idea. That's a good point. You have to think really, really bold and really different. One, get your material together so you can have something to show them, either like a scene, or is it something that he's already shot, or what specifically is this? Just in general? In general. So he's trying to find distribution, or it's different each time. Going back to me, El Mariachi, I cut a trailer for El Mariachi, and I put fake blurbs in that made it look like it was already a hit. Like,
and at the time
Siskel and Ebert had already seen it and given it 2 thumbs up.
That's awesome.
What was weird is that when the movie finally did come out, it actually did get 2 thumbs up. But so you can kind of just create this thing. You visualize, but no, you put it together so people can look at it in that light and they see it, and you just get it to anybody that you can. But thinking completely different is the key. If everyone is competing on one level, you got to think at another. Like, for instance, I'd always wanted to get in television, but TV is it was always so crowded. Everyone's trying to get in on Friday night on NBC. So what do you do when I've always heard this advice, and it made sense only recently. When everyone is doing the same thing and everyone's competing in the same realm, you have to think much bigger. There's a lot less competition up there. There's nobody up there, actually. So
find the hole to fill it instead of trying to get into other people's territory.
I can't get my show on TV. I know. I'll own a network. Then I can put on any show that I want. And how many other people are going up for a network? You know how many other people applied for that network?
How many?
It was a lot, and then it wasn't a lot. 100 people in the whole country. In the whole country, 100 people threw in an idea for a network and showed a presentation. It's not a lot of people.
That isn't a lot of people. For how many people have
That's a
ideas?
lot less people that's even in this room. So when you think about that, think about how can I get someone's attention? Everyone else is at the festival. Don't go to the festival. Think of something big. Go to the festival, but think also something else beyond that. Don't rely on the festival, because then you're just crossing your fingers. You got to hit it from other ways. And that promotes much bigger thinking. I always say aim high, because if you aim just at the festival, you might hit it, and you might just hit lower. But if you aim really high, you might still just hit the festival, but at least now you got a chance that you'll hit there, or like straight up. So try to think as big as you can.
It's interesting because mariachi, how you created that sizzle reel. Like now, this day and age, you would have put it on YouTube, and maybe it would have gotten viral, and that would have jump-started your career.
Back then, I remember when I was doing Dust Till Dawn, I had just gotten my first internet account, and I was thinking, God, I wish there was a way I could show people what I'm doing in my editing room in my bedroom. I'd love to show them clips of Dust Till Dawn, but everybody had the bandwidth. What was it? The phone dial-up back then.
Yeah.
So I had all these ideas, and then of course it was so great that now you could totally do that and more. It's amazing.
All right, we actually have a question from a YouTuber from Epic Mealtime.
How you doing today?
Hey, how you doing?
Fantastic. My name's Amir Atari from Canada, Montreal. I know you had a real major role in bringing Predators to life. Please tell me sequel, please. Royce, anything. Any plans? It did really well.
It did actually really well.
And how quick you guys got it all filmed and wrapped up. So, bang on another one, please.
Yeah, there's a couple things to that. I loved that series, and I'd written that script for that. So, but years before. So when they came and asked if I would direct it, I was actually had just started Machete, and I said I couldn't. But they saw my studio down here, and thought, wow, can you just put it through your system with your guys, and you'll make it much less expensive than if we do it, and you could probably get it out in time, because they had less than a year to write it, put it together, and put it out. So we tried it, and they were really impressed and all of that. But I don't own that property. Even though I wrote it, I kind of did it out of just to kind of see if we could do it. But I'm much more about now working on the things that I'll own, and I'll produce stuff that I can help other filmmakers with. So I might produce some more studio things, but at the end of the day, when you can do something that you own and control, it's much better that way. It's a much better situation.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
One more question.
We have one more question.
When you do a sequel, are you trying to do an extension of the original? Do you feel you owe the audience to keep it true to that? Are you going a new direction? How do you make a sequel better than the first, or are you trying to make it better?
I think the trick is that all the movies that I've done sequels to, even from the Mariachi on, they were always Genesis stories. They were just the genesis of the character. And that's usually how, like when I thought of mariachi, I thought of a guy with a guitar case full of guns, and I knew, okay, well, I can't afford to do that movie, which was more like Desperado. For I had $5,000 or $6,000, and I went over budget. Only had a few $1,000s, so I thought, well, let's do a story about how he gets the guitar case full of guns. So he doesn't become the guy with the guitar case full of guns till the last scene in the movie. So when you're done with that, you can do sequels forever because you just started the character. The same with Machete. He was a day laborer, and they realized that he was. So you can go back and do prequels. You can do sequels. For the Spy Kid movies, the kids don't become spies until the last scene in the movie. So you can go on forever because the whole movie was just a Genesis tale. So if you think of it that way, think about how to create a series of and you got to think that way in a way. Even if you're not going to make another movie, you got to think, how's this going to go now into social media or on television, and how can I get more story value out of this? And what's great about a movie concept like that is even if you never make a sequel, well, you've left the audience with this gift of the possibilities of, wow, what would happen next? They can finish their own stories in their heads because for them, the adventure just started. You just gave them a taste of something that's just beginning. So that's kind of one of the tricks that I've found. I wasn't even doing it consciously, actually just looking back at them and realizing that that's kind of how I've always done it. Is I start with the Genesis story.
And you're going to be performing tomorrow night.
I'm going to be performing.
So I know you're going to
I have
rehearse
to
right
go
after
rehearse.
this. So it's been a blast.
It's been crazy.
A pleasure having you. Where can people find you tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night we're at ACL, the balcony, and Tito and Tarantula's playing, and Chingon, this band that I've had. We do movie music. We did music for Kill Bill and Machete and Once Upon a Time Mexico, and Tito did Dusk Till Dawn and Desperado. And we're going to have a huge screen playing scenes from the movies as we play live in front of it. So it's going to be really bizarre. Like
it's the ultimate
Tito,
movie fan concert.
It's going to be like a fan concert. I mean, Tito's going to be singing as he gets killed on screen by Antonio that he shot 15 years before, or playing on screen and on stage while Salma does the snake dance as he plays the snake dance song. So it's going to be pretty cool.
Super cool.
That's
All
gonna
right.
be
Well,
fun.
I'll
That's
be live
tomorrow.
tweeting from it. So go here if you're offline and in Austin, Texas. Check it out, or follow us online, and we'll be sending out details from the ground. Thank you so much, Robert
Absolutely.
Rodriguez, everyone. You're fabulous. Looking forward to seeing El Rey when it goes live.
Yeah.
And once again, thanks to all of you for joining us in person here, and all of you online for watching the past 3 days. We've been live from the Samsung Blogger Lounge at South by Southwest. Remember, go to samsung.com/howolympic are you to check out the very first Samsung Olympic Genome Project. I'm Shira Lazar for What's Trending. I'll see you soon. Bye.